Will you touch on the differences between 1.4 and 1.5? I don't think so. Anything before 1.5, correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, anything before 1.5 was beta, right?
Right. Everything was up to 1.5 was beta.
Yeah, so
1.4 and 1.4 release candidate, yes.
yeah, so if you're using 1.4, you should switch over to 1.5. And I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about 1.5.1. So you'll get to see the newer update, and we're also going to be talking about that in a few minutes, as well as with like child themes. We're creating child themes for each one of them. But yeah, Ray, the anything prior to 1.5 was a beta release, so we won't be talking about the differences because you shouldn't be using anything prior to 1.5.
RC stood for release candidate in 1.4, and that was basically that we were considering that, we were wrapping everything up to make 1.5. So that might be where you got confused.
Okay. Jimmy H says he's from San Antonio too, so we've got a couple from San Antonio, a couple of our customers from there. Maybe you guys can hook up. That's cool. Jimmy H is wanting to know if I can pass along phone numbers. So let me see. Let me back up. Dave from Denver. Hello.
And there's Bob from Camarillo. He's right in my backyard, basically.
Yeah.
Hi,
Got
Bob.
Terry H from Galveston. So we got. Let me back up real quick and see who I said hello to first. It was Eric. Eric S from San Antonio. If you would like information from another fellow San Antonio marketer, you can let me know, and if so, I will put the two of you in touch. And if you do not, Eric says yes. All right, so Jimmy, I got your phone number, and I will pass it along over to Eric, and the two of you can connect. Awesome, Dave, you're the man. Dave W. I'll call him Dave W. unless he wants me to mention his last name, but Dave W. has already sold 4 Local Biz Pro websites, and that is super, super awesome. Dave, I don't know if, do you want to reveal how much you sold them for? Jimmy H said I just sold one this week. That's so awesome. James H sold one. Jimmy sold his for $1,500. Terry H has sold 2. This is super awesome. Yeah, so we only have one actual price listed at $1,500, which is cool. That would be my absolute, seriously, my bare bones basic minimum. In our business, we sell for $2,000 as a real minimum. I'd have to have a special reason to want to go down to $1,500 if I thought that there was more long-term longevity with a particular client, and I just wanted to get my foot in the door. But yeah, Jerry.
And it also depends on your, where you're at. So, we have people all around the world that are selling. So I'm not saying that it's going to be, 1,500 in a certain environment, but your typical person is going to grab one of these. Yeah, that's bare bones.
Yeah, Dave P sold one at $1,500. Let's see, they're just coming in. Awesome. Well, Ray M sold one. Let's see, one for $1,500, and the other will have lots of extra stuff. Sold Mobile Web Pro sites to both for an additional $500 each. That's awesome, Ray. You guys are awesome.
Hey, Zeke. Zeke's in Camarillo. Somebody else close by.
Yeah. Terry H says in Galveston he's been selling for about $700. The market won't support $1,500 or higher. Let's see. And that's true, like Jerry just said, you will find certain areas may or may not support. But before we get off and running, I know we're 6 minutes after, but I think this is a really good thing for you guys all to know. When it comes to pricing and when it comes to sales, obviously, there's a lot more going on than just what you think the market will or will not bear. So please understand that I say this in love. I'm not trying to beat anybody up, but here's the thing. The more confident you are, obviously the more talented you are at at the selling process, the more money you're going to make. Of course, that also works in conjunction or in tandem with you asking for more. If you walk into a situation and ask for $500, you're going to get, if the sale goes, you're going to get $500. You're not going to get them to say, wow, it's too cheap. Let me, give you $750 or let me give you $1,500. You're going to get what you ask for. So one of the easiest ways to charge or to make more is to charge more. And I know that sounds really crazy, but that's the reality. In addition to that, I would say a couple of other things. One of the things with selling is the ability to position yourself differently from other providers. So if there are other providers in your area that are selling at $700, what you have to do if you want to sell at a higher ticket price is to be able to differentiate yourself, to say, look, yeah, that other provider might be, giving you a WordPress driven website, but number one, they can't offer you my custom platform because this is my custom platform. Of course, you have a developer's license for Local Biz Pro, so that's the truth. Number two, we're performing basic SEO for you, which they're not. And number three, we're installing these amount of premium plugins that would cost you hundreds of dollars extra that they're not. Number four, we're providing you, after the thing is finished in regards to, a couple of hours of training. We're doing, like Bill Marks just brought up, WordPress security. They're not touching that, and I can prove that they're not touching that because here, look at their own website that's run by WordPress, and they've got all these security holes, etc. So sometimes you need to just highlight the differences between you and the other providers. That's another thing. But in addition to that, this is another key. Even within a market, you have sub niches. So by that I mean this: if you go out and try to pitch, services for a basic website for $1,500 or $2,000 to your local, we'll just call it barber, you may have difficulties. I'm not saying that will be the case, but you may have difficulties. Why? Because the barber is typically charging, maybe $10, $15, $20 per, per haircut, etc. They have a lower cost, basically per unit. It makes it harder to justify a higher price because, okay, well, how many extra clients are you saying that you think you might add to our business this month as a result of this new website and the exposure, etc. So conversely, if you're going after a chiropractor or going after a dentist or going after a lawyer, somebody that has much higher than average cost per unit, and of course, like a chiropractor, you don't go see the chiropractor once. You go and see them, and they're going to sign you up for a 4 to 6 to 8 week session, etc. They know that just one new client to them is extremely valuable, so their understanding of what they're willing to pay is much different. So just realize that even in a marketplace, you have sub niches that are going to be willing to pay varying rates. And the thing that I would say to you is to kind of take a look at the businesses that are in your area and try to come up with ones that are selling services that basically have a higher than average cost per unit. Like, for example, house painters. House painters in Southern California, a good quality house painter, I mean, they're probably on the low end, about $7,500 to easy $10,000 plus per sale. So it's kind of a weird kind of a market, but it's true. And our good friend David is on the line. You might know him as David X, and he says basically his suggestion is to target businesses who can afford you, and that is extreme wisdom from a guy who's absolutely killing it in the offline marketplace in a very short amount of time. So take that from David, not just from me. So with that, go ahead.
I just got one quick thing. If your strength is building sites but not selling, you partner up with somebody that can sell, and vice versa. If your strength is selling but not building the site, partner up with somebody. Use your strengths, and you can actually make a lot more as opposed to going in and undercutting yourself.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Nope, absolutely. And in addition to that, one other thing to extend what Jerry just said, which is absolutely true, is the understanding that if you really, once you get in this business and you're having some success and you're making, if you want to leverage that further, then you really need to get into the position of being more of a project manager and less of the tactician, the person that's actually, you know, clicking buttons and setting stuff up. So you can find an outsourcer who has more skill than you do in the website building thing, train them on your specific process, how you want things done, and they'll work for, you know, a quarter or less than what you'd be willing to work for, and give you the ability to, you know, if they work faster than you too, which most will, give you the ability to go out and you know, sell or manage people that are selling, and obviously turn a whole lot more units and make a whole lot more money. So just another quick tidbit. So here we go. We are at our final scheduled webinar. There likely will probably be one more in webinar format, just because after I show you 1.5.1, while the variations are not significant, we have found and fixed a number of small bugs, made a couple of improvements, and in addition to that, like I said just a few minutes ago, we are going to be creating and giving you child themes for each one of the 6 variations as well. If you're not familiar with what a WordPress child theme is, you will be by the time that we're done with this particular webinar. So again, I really don't have a specific agenda for this other than to tell you about 1.5.1 and tell you that it exists. I don't have an exact date when that's going to get into your hands, but it will likely be probably within about 5 to 7 days from right now as I'm speaking. We're still doing some further testing. I want to make sure that everything's really solid and we have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's before that gets out the door to you. But I think you'll really like it when you get it, because the use of child themes specifically has a number of advantages, one of which is the ability to kind of keep your installations intact even when we make new updates to the local Biz Pro theme, when we get to 1.5.2 or even 1.6, etc. Rather than having to switch out the entire theme and go backwards and redo a whole lot of stuff, you'll have the ability to keep the core child theme intact. Simply change out the new parent theme or the main theme, and all of your stuff will stay intact, all your custom stuff, at least if you do it the way that we're going to teach you to do it. And it's going to make updates easier. It's going to make security better, because you can keep your custom code in the child theme functions.php file. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I'll show you today. And so security will be better, updates will be easier, etc. It's just a better way to work, and we're going to provide that to you, of course, at no additional cost. So with that, I guess, Jerry, just look at the questions, and if people have questions about, you know, the current theme.
Let's blast back through here.
Now's the time to ask. If you have questions, if you've been trying to do something and haven't been able to figure it out, now's the time to ask, and we'll do our best.
Will we be able to install 1.5.1 on top of current installs? As opposed to before, we used to have to delete everything.
Right. Well, I think the answer to that is, unfortunately, I would probably recommend that you do delete everything. Once we get past 1.5.1, it shouldn't happen anymore, because, well, I guess I should back up. When we supply you the new 1.5.1 package, and in tandem or in conjunction with the child themes, you are going to have the opportunity to use the child themes. You will not be forced or required to use child themes. The parent themes will work just fine by themselves, but I would really recommend that once we do hand out the new package 1.5.1, that will include basically a parent theme and a child theme for each one of the 6 variations, that you switch over to that and then use that going forward, because then when we get to 1.5.2, you'll be able to just switch those out, and everything should run exactly exactly as it is for you, just with the new improvements running in the background without having to make new changes.
Okay. Zeke's asking, how do you protect the core? Oh, hang on one second. Is everyone able to hear us? I got a couple no sounds. I think it's probably on their end. So I think we can hear each other, so probably. Okay, everything's fine. Um, Zeke's asking, how do you protect the core with using it with outsourcers? And I think, it's basically you have to trust your outsourcers. Use reliable ones.
Yeah, yeah. um, the use of outsourcers is one of those topics that obviously we can give you tips and information, but realistically, there's no way for us to, guarantee you anything. You're going to have your mileage may vary basically, but giving anybody access to a web server is is a challenge. It just is. There's no way around it. I mean, quite honestly, I would be the first to admit, raise my hand up high, I am absolutely positively a control freak. And that makes outsourcing difficult. It took me a long time to be willing to outsource, and then even when I started, I would only outsource just a little bit, and you get to the point where I think your confidence level builds, and you have a better understanding in regards to the questions to ask when you're trying to vet an outsourcer to make sure that you believe that they are are going to do well for you. But yeah, absolutely, there is a risk. There's no way getting around it. Um, the only thing I would say is just make sure that if you have a backup solution for the particular website thing you're about to work on, make sure that you have full backups and that you've taken them off the server and have them locally prior to allowing the outsourcer to do work. You might also want to, at the beginning, give an outsourcer limited access, if it's possible, and test them out to make sure that they are in fact quality, a quality provider. Since someone asked about outsourcing, I'll just say a couple of things. There's obviously a lot of different places you can go to look for an outsourcer. This would take up an entire webinar just to talk about outsourcing, but let me pop over to a new tab and show you a couple of things. I think it's jobs dot WordPress dot, I think it's net, and it is. So I'm going to send this out. This is actually a site that's actually managed and run by Automatic, and if you're not sure who Automatic is, they are the parent company that owns WordPress itself. That let's see where I need to send that in the chat. Just a second. We'll send out this URL to everyone. Should come out to you right now, hopefully. This is a website where you can go to look for providers or even to post jobs. So like right over here at the very top, you can see the top category says WordPress upgrade jobs. So people over here, everybody that's posted is looking for some kind of a WordPress related developer for help. In this case, it says upgrade. Of course, this says WordPress site build. Give you locations, project types, and if you go into each one of these individual things, you'll see the actual individual project. Down here, you can see that there's another category for WordPress programmer positions. So people that are actually looking to hire WordPress developers, again with locations, etc. WordPress designer positions, if you're not looking for the coding aspect maybe, but just the design aspect. WordPress bloggers, so if you're looking for someone that you want to have content provided, general positions, etc. And like I said, down here at the bottom you can see Copyright, Midout, and Automatic, the company that runs WordPress. So this is a pretty solid place to go to. I found my full-time coder, just FYI, I found him at onlinejobs.ph. onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph is a place that has basically a large repository of individuals who are based in the Philippines. So these are all Philippine-based providers who are looking for work. And one of the cool things that I really like about online jobs is, number one, it's owned by John Jonas, if you know who John is. John has extreme experience in outsourcing to the Philippines. This is his own website. You will have to pay to get contact information for an actual provider, but you can search for free as far as just kind of getting an idea as far as what's available and at what costs. But in order to actually get their contact information to contact them, you'll have to pay for a membership. And there's varying levels of that. But I will tell you a couple of things. I have hired outsourcers now from all over the world. I've hired outsourcers from India, the UK, the Philippines, Russia, or the Russian territories at least. I think that's about it. And I have had mostly very good results. And I hear people say, hey, I had really bad results with this place or that place. And I think it's kind of like we were talking about pricing just a minute ago. Realistically, I think I have better than average results because I have, a decent amount of experience. I've just kind of built up a decent amount of experience by interviewing people. I don't just, quickly give, anybody just a job. I actually, spend some time interviewing them and asking them important questions and just trying to vet them out to make sure that they actually can do what they say they can do. But anyway, to give you a little idea, you can find a full-time WordPress web developer that's willing to work for you 40 hours a week plus for somewhere between $600 and $1,000 a month. So, and those are the really talented ones. You can find ones that will work cheaper, but of course I would be skittish about going less, just because typically you do get what you pay for. And at that rate, I get asked all the time, I can't believe that you're only paying someone that less or that little. It's like you're taking advantage of them. I can tell you that if you were to talk to my coder directly, the one that I hire in the Philippines, he would absolutely beat you up if you tried to tell him that he couldn't work for me anymore. I take extremely good care of him, and if you look at the actual wages that are going on, in his specific area, he's very, very highly paid comparatively. Yes, for me, it's a wise investment, but for him, he actually makes a very strong rate. I actually have a bonus model incentive thing that's just between he and I that I built into it in addition. And seriously, he'd crawl over broken glass to continue to work for me because we've just built up a really strong kind of a bond between the two of us as an employer-employee, so to speak, even though he's an outsourcer. So I know this was a whole question about outsourcing and how do you get to trust them. I don't know how to do that other than just make full backups and then keep an eagle eye on them for a while to make sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and dump them in a heartbeat if you think that that's not the case.
What's been told to me also is don't get a brand new outsourcer and trust them on a major project. Find some small things that you can do that you can just see how they're going to work, and reliability and trustworthiness and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good info.
Okay.
Where are we at?
Let's see. Somebody wanted to know about the. Oh, hang on. There's a few. How to make the links at the bottom of the sites not always be blue.
Okay. So the question now is down here at the moment in the footer. These are blue, and we didn't build in a facility to make this an easy switchover process for these particular links. So the question is, how do you do it? You do it through custom CSS, and it's time to teach you how to figure that out. So while this won't be a complete custom HTML and CSS course, you'll at least understand how to do what you just asked, and we can provide the code specifically for you as well. So depending upon what browser you're using, right now I'm in Chrome, And I'll be honest, I'm more familiar and I'm more used to using Firefox than I am Chrome. It'll work in both. Just so you know, I wouldn't be using Internet Explorer. Not that you couldn't do it in that, but Firefox and Chrome is definitely more suited for web development, in my opinion. So if you hover over one of the links that are currently blue down here, and you right-click and choose Inspect Element, this is if you are in Chrome, using Google Chrome as your browser, you're going to get this pane to pop up, and it's going to highlight. You can see down here there's a gray bar. Initially it was blue. It's going to highlight the area of that particular code. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit and we're going to take a peek at this. So what we're looking at here, if I just go up a little bit higher, you're seeing that it's inside of a div or a division class of footer 2.
Kevin,
Yes.
can you scroll down the top window? It'll show them how it relates.
Scroll down the top window? Yeah.
Yeah, because we can't actually see the footers
Okay.
on our screens.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. If I hover my cursor now over the specific text, you see how it highlights it up there on the top. It's giving me some indications. You can see the kind of a tan looking box that appears right here. It starts with the lowercase a, which basically just tells me it's an anchor tag or it's a link, and it's giving me some size parameters which aren't helpful at this point, but you get the idea. If I hover over terms, it's highlighting this one, etc. So you can kind of get an idea. So above here, like I said before, we are inside of the division class or div class footer 2, and you can see if I hover over it, you can see how it highlights that whole section in blue. If I come down to div class equals inner, you can see kind of where that is. If I come down to the next under the copyright statement, it's not doing anything. But right here, if I hover over the notice, div class equals C notice, which is the C my developer added for basically the copyright notice. So this is div class of C notice, and that is what is basically controlling this particular area. Now within that area, we'll go back to C notice, there is some callouts basically for styling the text links. We come over here to the right, you'll see there's the CSS that's attached to the area that we inspected initially. You'll see right here under the class of footer 2, and you know it's a class as opposed to an ID because the word footer 2 is preceded by a period. So if you see a period and then footer 2, this is saying that it corresponds basically to a class. So you can see over here div class equals footer 2, as opposed to right up here, you see it says ID equals testimonials. If you're dealing with an ID as opposed to a class, instead of the period, there would be a number sign, or some people refer to the hashtag, etc. A pound sign would precede it rather than the period. So again, footer 2, and then the A tag, which right here means we're dealing with a link, and this is now what's called the pseudo class, and it is :hover. So basically it says when you mouse over this with your cursor, what am I supposed to do? And it's saying, well, text decoration means none. So if we hover this over this, we don't get a line to show up underneath the link. If we wanted to change that, this would be the CSS that we would want to change. Down here, we go a little bit further, and we get again .footer 2 :hover. So on hover, change it to this color, and it's giving you the hexadecimal color to change it to. So there's two colors involved. There's the default color state and the hover color state. You can see when I hover, it changes color. So there's two colors that we need to look at in footer 2 for the A link. And if we come down a little bit lower, I'm trying to see. if it's going to show us where the other is listed. I guess the real thing to just pay attention to by using inspect element is try to figure out which CSS is already affecting that area. And we know that the footer to a:hover is affecting the hover state. And I'm trying to look and see what is affecting the standard state. It typically would be like this, a link, but you can see that it's lined through. The color is coming from somewhere else. So let's see, let's look at, okay, that's using gray. That's using the black. All right, we won't mess with it. We'll just show you inside the theme itself. So one thing that you can do, of course, this makes it's easier to do it in a text editor that you can search, but log into your WordPress backend, go to Appearance and then Editor. Once you are sure that you have that theme active, you want to scroll to the very bottom of this list, and you'll see under Styles there are 4 style sheets. The one that all the real custom code stuff is in is the third in the list, swstat style.css. This file here, I'm going to click on it, and that's going to activate this particular file in the editing window. It's thinking. Still thinking. Apologize. It's running slow. And if it doesn't happen soon, try it again. Yes, Jerry.
Yeah, it's .footer2 space a : link and .footer2 space a : visited have a color tab, and it's when I went and hovered over it in Chrome and did inspect element, those showed up, but it's inside of SWS or SW style ops.css. Just so you.
Really, it's in the last?
Yeah. Per my install now, I'm running 151, but it's probably the same.
Well, it's not being kind to us at the moment. So let me.
Why don't you? Oh,
go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Just guide you real quick. Go to the theme itself again. Within the browser.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And then right-click on Terms and select Inspect Element. And I'll try to hopefully see. I'm having fun with the limited size. It's footer 2. Yeah, you're getting overwritten. I wonder why.
Okay.
Mine's not overriding it, but it's the footer 2A line and that. But if you go up to element, if you want to actually see what happens, you can just go up to element style and tweak it. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with it. So here's what we're going to do. Since for some reason the internet connection is just going nuts, let's see if we can find. Yeah, we'll find the theme. We'll just look at it through the code real quick, just so you can kind of see it rather than having to sit here and wait. So I'm going to open up the theme itself, and we're going to go take a peek. We'll look at both. I'm going to just click both and open these and edit +3. Let's see. We are first in SWSTAT style. So let me kind of make this a little bit bigger so it can be seen. All right. One of the cool things, if you're doing it inside of a text editor, even if it was Notepad, is the ability to search for things. So we're really looking for the class of footer 2. Again, understanding that all the classes start with the periods and all the IDs start with a number sign. If I come down here and find an ID just to show you, these are all classes. There we go. So down here under color box, you see that it starts with the number sign. These are all IDs. So you'll see ID equals these. All these others start with class. I'm going to just click my cursor at the top. I'm going to go to search and find. And I'm going to search for dot footer 2 because that's the class that's affecting the color areas. I'm going to click find. Okay, so the cool thing is it takes me immediately into the area that I'm looking for, and so now I can just dump this. So now here's the styling, at least with, but there's no color call out, so it's very possible that it's inside of the other file, just like Jerry said. So you can see in footer 2 for the A link, so basically creating a text link, and whenever a site is visited, meaning that it's already been clicked on, to do text decoration none, meaning that there's no underline. Also, same thing, there's no text decoration, no underline basically when you hover over it. But you can see that there's no coloring CSS. So let's go into the other one, the SWS style OPS ops, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just come up here to search, find, we'll look for footer 2, it already pre-populates it, we'll click find, and then here we go, we have our color variation here. So now that we've found it, footer 2 A link, here's the color. Over here, footer 2 A hover, here's the color. So this is the color, the initial default color of the link, also the same color when the link is visited. Here is a different color whenever you hover over. So all we want to do is to copy these out. I'm going to just highlight the two, Control C to copy them to my clipboard. We'll go back into the theme. We'll go to Site Options. We'll go to Custom CSS Styling. And I'm simply going to just paste that information right here. So this is the exact identical code that the theme is currently running, so saving this would make no change whatsoever. If you knew the proper HTML color code, the hex code as it's referred to, you would just input that right here for the default state and for the hover state. I'm just going to, and you can find HTML color codes are really easy to find online. You just put in HTML color codes, and you'll be able to find, all sorts of sites that'll give you this information. So if you already know which ones you want to use, great. If not, you can actually use a color picker, and it'll give you the 6-digit hex code that you need to use. So let's say we want the link to be that color red. You can see it's right here, so I'll just Control C to copy that. We'll go back to here and update. Let me check and make sure. Yeah, it's not inserting in this particular site. It's not inserting the number tag, the number sign rather. You just got to be careful that you don't want the number sign in there twice. So I'm going to paste. Just take a quick look at it and make sure that you don't have 2 number signs. If you do, you have a problem. So now it's going to be red by default, and the hover state's going to be something else. I'm just going to change the hover state to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs, which is white. We'll save changes. We'll go back and visit, and if all has worked properly, we should have red links that become white on hover. And we do. So we have red links that become white on hover, and that's the way that it's changed. So again, just to repeat this and make this a little bit easier, anytime that you want to do custom CSS work, the first thing you need to do is figure out what the current website template or what the current theme, how does it know how to style that particular that particular element without messing with other things. Why is this text still blue, and we only change the links? And that's because we use the inspect element through Google Chrome to figure out specifically which class is being affected. And again, we did that by right-clicking, choosing inspect element, and then we went down here and we said, okay, what's affecting it? And over here, you're seeing the CSS rules that are attached to it. And they all started with footer 2. And then we just use that intelligence to search the current style sheets to know what the specific code was. After we copied them, we came back to the custom CSS area in our site options panel. We pasted that information, we made the changes we wanted, and then we clicked Save All Changes. The cool thing about the custom CSS panel is that it allows you basically to do some playing around, and I would encourage you to do that in a development state. Put this up somewhere, not on a real live site, and do some playing around with it. Because if you don't like it, if you want to change it, all you have to do is just delete and click Save Changes, and get rid of this. And now we're right back to the default blue. Okay.
Just two quick things. One, my suggestion is never edit the actual style sheets, the SW, style ops and things like that, unless you absolutely have to. You should use overrides, because in case the style sheets do change or whatever, or you use a child theme, which we'll talk about with child themes.
Yeah, the child theme, once we give you the child themes, that's going to make that a whole lot easier, because basically what Jerry's saying is if you write if you make custom CSS and you add it to the actual style sheet itself by going to Appearance and then Editor, of course, I'm not going to mess with trying to go into there again, but the default style sheet style.css shows up here. So yeah, I could add custom CSS. Of course, I didn't get all the code. I could add custom CSS to this file, but the problem is when we give you version 1.5.1 and then 2 and then 3, etc., as updates are made, then this all gets overwritten, and you have to basically reinvent the wheel or make sure that you port over all your changes, etc. So it's really, in that instance, unless, of course, you know that you want a global change, it's really best to use the custom CSS option that we've provided for you. But when you see the child themes, it'll make more sense as to why there's such an advantage to it. So I kind of want to hold off to show the child themes until we answer just kind of standard questions. But what else we got, Jerry?
Text. Somebody's asking about where do you put the mobile redirect script.
Okay, so we provided you with a mobile redirect script, and we provided it to you in 2 different versions. Basically, one version to use for the Local Biz Pro theme, and another version to use if you're using a different theme and or even just a regular HTML template. Under Site Options, you will see that there's the mobile redirect code right here, and there's a big yellow attention box that I would caution you to read first. It says basically, if you're using the one that we provided, please ensure a couple things. Number one, that the class.mobile.php file exists in your root directory before doing anything else. So that step 1 is to make sure that you've uploaded this PHP file to the root directory before pasting this code in here. If you don't, you're immediately going to visit your site and see a big old nasty PHP error code, which it's easily solved just by uploading the file, but it's best to do it in the correct order. So first upload this file to the root directory, and that being, it should live alongside the index.php file for your WordPress installation, and we've given you full directions inside of the package that includes the mobile redirect script, so make sure to read that document. It explains it in full. But that's step 1. Step 2 is just to paste the mobile redirect code right here in this box, and this bit of information repeats it. a version of the code that we gave you for other themes will include the opening and closing PHP tags, which I'm highlighting here. For our theme for use inside the site options panel here, those need to not be included, which is why we gave you a second version of the redirect code. So we gave you a version that's already ready. You simply just paste it in this box after, of course, having uploaded class.mobile.php. Click Save Changes, and you're good. Of course, understanding that you need to have updated the full path to your mobile website homepage. So, but this is explained in detail inside the mobile redirect package. We gave you a PDF that explains the entire process. So I'm hoping that makes sense. Is there more questions about the mobile redirect?
I don't see any. I think somebody just wanted to basically see it work. Let's see. Nope, no others on that.
Okay.
Let's see. Somebody wanted to know how to change the footer text that says business, this theme by or whatever, theme designed by business name.
Okay. Again, most everything that you're going to find with our theme is built into the site options panel. Most outside of the site options panel, the only other thing really to look at on a custom level is the theme options page, which basically just allows you to switch between the 6 color variations. So if you're ever wondering where stuff is, the first place to go is log into WordPress admin and visit site options and go through each one of these tabs to figure out all of the different features that you have to change. The area that you're talking about is in footer options, and we'll visit the front end of the site and go to the footer to show you what we're talking about. So basically the question is coming in regards to this last line basically inside the footer area that controls this content that I'm trying to highlight right there. So I'll just start from the left and work to the right. Right now you can see that it says copyright 2012, and then it has a bit of information, KCS dev2.info. The 2012 is dynamic, so it basically just stays active. It checks PHP to know what year it is and then outputs the current year. So when we hit January 1st, 2013, your site will update and say copyright 2013. This bit of information right here, KCS dev2.info, is being pulled from the general settings inside of WordPress. So I will come back inside of here. We'll get out of site options for just a second. We'll go to settings and then general, and you'll see the site title, the very first line, first field. So whatever copyright notice you want, just note that that's where it's getting the information from. So I just put hello everyone live. I'm going to save changes. We'll go back and take a look. We now have a copyright statement that says copyright 2012, hello everyone live. That is where that bit of text is output. The next bit is the text links. You can show up to 5. You don't have to show any, but you can show as many as you want, up to 5 here easily through our site options panel. And then on the right hand side is what we call the attribute link, and both of those are controlled inside of appearance site options. Once that loads, hopefully sooner than later. Man, this is really running slow. Not what you want for delivering webinar content. I apologize. I don't know what the hang-up is, but
I have to step away. Sorry,
okay.
Sorry
No
about the
problem.
working.
All right. Goodness sakes. Murphy is certainly at hand today. Let's see. I'm just going to do a forced refresh here real quick. I said real quick, but that's not exactly happening now, is it? Wow. All right. Let me do something real quick. Let me open up Firefox. And let's see here. We are at it's probably not browser specific, but just in case it is, you're back on, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Taking care of a dude and from one of
Yeah.
the dogs from the artist. He doesn't like anyone coming over.
Okay, let's see here. So we are inside. We'll go back to parent site options and hopefully get something to load up. Okay, well, it's loading through Firefox, so hopefully we'll get this to work. Let me, while I'm here, open the home page too. All right, so under the site options panel are a number of individual tab pages, one of which is footer options. And there's a bunch of options here, more than what the question was asked. So I'll just go over the question that was asked. The links are first. Again, like I said, there's 5 of them total. So if you want to use a custom links, and I would recommend that you do because there's just some default links down there that should be changed. As soon as you enter even one link, it'll wipe off the default. So let's just say that we wanted a new link to say website terms, and we were going to link that to this full URL, kcsdev2.info / whatever that page name happened to be, website terms. I haven't created that page, so of course this would give us a 404 error, but you understand what I'm talking about. Once you've created the pages, or where you know that those pages live, just copy the full URL paths and paste them in here. What this is saying is to link this URL to this piece of text. So website terms gets linked to this URL. And you can go, like I said, all the way up to 5. The last link in this list is the attribute link. And you can see that there's 3 fields. There's the non-linked portion. So website designed by, or in this case, we'll just put SEO marketing by. The next is the piece of text that you want to actually link, your business name, your name, whatever you want it to link to, and then the full URL path that goes back to your particular consultant site. So the piece of text that precedes the link, the piece of text that is going to be linked, and then the URL to link to that piece of text, your business name in this case. Save changes. We go back and refresh. And when we get to the footer area now, we're going to see that we only have 1 link down here instead of the 5, website terms, and that we have SEO marketing by your business name, and your business name is linked to the particular URL that we included. Any questions more on that, Jerry?
It seemed to be, yeah, I think that covered it.
Okay.
There's one, okay. I think the other question was, how do you get rid of them? And I think that pretty much covered that also. So.
How do you just get rid of the default stuff?
Right.
Okay.
So you just basically need to put something there. Even though it's blank, those are default placeholders that appear.
Yeah, it's just a default placeholder. As soon as you add even 1 link, it'll wipe the others. And of course, if you wanted, additionals, then all you have to do is just come down here and add number 2. And once number 2 has been added, of course, we'll get dynamically, we'll get a pipe symbol to separate them, and then we get the second link.
Okay. I have a question about the full slider image with the div tag.
Okay.
They have the div tags, but they still see I'm not sure if they have the div tags or shortcuts, but they still see a white bar at the top. And I've actually solved this one, so there is an issue if you have extra white space between the div tags.
Okay, so if we'll just try to demo this live because I understood what Jerry just said. If we go to main sliders and add new, and we do demo full slider, full image slider, I guess. When you go to put your full image, a full-sized image, which again is 960 pixels wide by 346 pixels in height, there's two ways to get rid of the white space. And if you're not familiar with the white space, if we go to just insert an image, we'll go to upload. I've already uploaded some for testing, just ready for this. And we'll go from the media library. We'll grab one of the full-sized images and we'll insert it. But just a quick, this is obviously more than just a question and answer because no one really answered it, or asked it. But here's the thing: in regards to SEO and on-page SEO, I'm going to give you just some best practices. It's going to populate some default stuff. You can see right here the title. The title is going to get populated with the actual image name. This is really not best. What happens with the title information is whatever information is in here becomes like a tooltip. So when you hover over the image, it pops up for the visitor this text. So it would be best that this read well, and it would be best that this included a nice keyword. So of course I'm not really optimizing for sunset over mountains, but give it a title that makes sense and something that includes your primary keyword, if at all possible, or a keyword phrase that you're targeting. Same thing with alt text. The alt text is going to show up if your browser can't display the image for some reason. So you need to have alt text both for visitors and for SEO, and to try to keep your websites in compliance with the W3C, because alt text is a requirement. So it could be exactly the same thing as the titles. It's entirely up to you. Caption and description, these are different things, so I'm not going to touch on those right now. These actually, the caption outputs underneath the image, and we don't want that in this case. I don't want to link it anywhere, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I do want to use the full-sized image, so make sure that that's ticked before you try to do that, so it doesn't try to use one of the smaller versions that it has created. I'm going to click Insert into Post. So now we have inserted this full-sized image in here without the custom tags. And we're going to have this crazy white space at the top that we've demoed before at the very top. Okay, so it's this white space that they're talking about, that they're seeing, that they want to get rid of, and of course everybody would. It's being done by WordPress, not the theme, because it's trying to wrap the image in a paragraph tag. So the way that you get around that is to either use our custom shortcode or use just a small bit of HTML. So if you use the HTML route, you simply just put angle brackets, just like regular HTML code, and just wrap it in a div tag, angle brackets surrounding lowercase div. This is the closing tag, and you'll see that it has a / div. The other one is just div. If I update this now, this is going to go away, and it's going to look exactly as it should, and it has. What Jerry is basically saying is if there's an additional space, that it's still not working, and we'll test that live to make that. We'll go test it and see. Looks like mine is working there. Let's go back and Oh, let's wait for a second. Yeah, that's working. Maybe we'll move both of them out by a space and check this. And that's still working for me, so I haven't been able to.
Put a space before the first div tag. I think that was what the actual problem. We cleaned up a lot of spaces that were on the page.
Okay,
So
so
he had a space there.
space before, not after?
No, he had a
Or
space
both?
before and after each of those tags.
Okay.
So they were separated, and then another one was the same with the short codes. So,
okay. Likely this is the real problem here is the space that's before the div. We'll go try it and see what happens. Okay, still working for me. So
they had extra spaces, and it just, that's what the problem was on WordPress. I think tried to grab it. It's possible they might even had an extra like line feed or something. But that was after the div tags. If they don't work, just make sure you cleared any extraneous spaces and extra HTML. But it's of course going to work for you today because we're on a webinar.
it's scared of me.
Yeah. Somebody asked where the server was because of all the storms in the Midwest, and yes, it is. This particular server, I believe, is in, what, Houston or San Antonio?
Yeah, in Texas.
Yeah. But I think it's afraid of the webinar. Somebody else also mentioned that, hey, it's February 29th. The internet always slows down.
Ah, you know what? That's what it is. I was actually hearing talk that, back in Y2K, just a quick aside, there was all this, the sky was going to fall and everybody was going to die because, Microsoft forgot to account for, 4-digit years and, or whatever the case was. And then, or I just heard this week that supposedly that they hadn't thought of, I don't know, leap year stuff, and supposedly.
Well, there's another issue with leap year because of various. It's not just Microsoft, but it's just different ones. Yeah, Microsoft released a patch to deal with this for leap year, but the biggest problem is people doing analytical reports.
Right, something with yeah, something with Excel and other things. I thought, how stupid is that? I mean, it just doesn't seem.
My friend got paid $1 million for 6 months worth of work because he was a COBOL programmer in Y2K. I was just like, they were so worried about that.
All right, let's try it again with the shortcodes version. So we're going to use the main slider category. Again, this will only work if you're using the plugin that we supplied along with our custom shortcodes. But we are going to use the full slider image shortcode, and I'm going to input the full path to the image that I just copied out, and we'll click Insert Shortcode. So here we have the custom shortcodes version using this rather than using the div tag. I can see that there is a space between the HTML and the shortcode tags, which are surrounded. These are the ones that are surrounded in these square brackets. We'll check this. This should work just fine as well. Hopefully it doesn't take forever to load. Okay, so this worked fine. If we put a space before the shortcode, we'll try that. And if this doesn't work, then, I mean, if I can't break it with this, then I'm not entirely sure. Just check. Yeah, everything's working for me. I haven't had the ability to break it.
We just had somebody that just needed to clean up their code, a couple people. So I think the big thing is make sure there's no, if you do have a problem, it does work. We do know the div tags and the shortcodes work, but if you have extra, line feeds or, extra lines or extra stuff in there, you might have an issue.
So you thought maybe it was an extra line?
There was all sorts of things initially, and we kept on getting rid of stuff. So there was also a non-breakable space on the page. And
okay, well, I can't break it, and I've been trying. So
okay,
but if you have specific things, check the spacing, like Jerry was just saying. Check to see that there's no spacing before either the shortcode or before the div tag. Get rid of spacing between the HTML and then just try it. And if it just doesn't work, just contact Jerry, give him the details, and we'll take a peek at it, see if we can't figure out what's going on.
One thing while we're here, people have asked about putting in the div tag, and they've put it in the visual editor portion of it. You need to click the HTML tab before you enter HTML. You
Yeah.
have the visual editor and stuff, so that's just an aside.
It gets kind of confusing because the shortcodes will allow, I mean, they'll work through the visual side. You can actually, work in the visual editor. So I understand that it gets kind of confusing, but yeah, Jerry's absolutely right. If you're going to be using just typing in div tags, you need to tab over to the HTML version before you do it. Otherwise, that's the cause right there. Any other questions, Jerry?
I'm blazing through them. Someone asking about the custom Aweber widget having a border. I thought we covered that in one of the webinars already. If you put the Aweber widget in the footer, it has a gray border. And I thought we covered changing the CSS on that before. Or changing the code, I think, is one of the two.
I do remember the topic, but I don't remember the exact issue, to be quite honest. So if we go to Appearance and Widgets, one of the custom widgets we supplied is the Aweber widget. And so what they're saying is if we put it in a footer area, is that what they're saying?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So drag it to the first area. We'll say put in some default stuff. We have the ability to change the text color, the form background color, the actual button color of the submit button, the button color on hover, the submit text. Of course, you would input your Aweber list name for the particular list, your web form ID, the URL path that you want to basically redirect the visitor to after they submit the form, your privacy text, type, and then whatever text you input, you can also link it right to your privacy policy page, which is wise to do. Save that, and then we'll go take a quick peek. Hopefully, I keep saying quick, but guess I'm at the mercy of this thing. It looks like that worked. Okay, so we have the Aweber box showing up just fine. Our headlines there. I mean, our titles there, our headlines there. Have the ability to enter name and email. Our button has updated. We have a privacy policy link. I'm not sure what's this borderline they're speaking of. Still there, Jerry?
Sorry, I muted myself because I was busy typing. There's I guess they were mentioning there was a gray border area right around the edge, so if you change the color to something like the gray to black or something, it showed up. But they have now disappeared, so I can't get more information right now.
Okay, so I guess what they're saying is there's probably a thin, we'll go back into the site options, take a peek at it. Site options. And then let's see here. We're going to go to footer options, and we'll change from using the default background image for the footer to colors, so we can take a peek at this issue. Let's see. We'll choose a color for the top band. Just black's fine. Choose black for the bottom. Oops, didn't take. That's interesting. If you leave it at black, it doesn't like it. If you move it, then it's okay. Interesting. All right. And the mid band, we'll just make something lighter so we can see what's going on. All right, I don't see a border.
Don't see it either. But, if
Okay.
this, whoever was watching it, send an email to the support and we'll look into that.
Okay.
We'll get you where we got. Okay, let's see what we got here. Somebody somebody asked. Oh, I thought it was here. Okay. Somebody asked about the changing the background, how that person did the narrow uh, background for the slider area. Remember we demoed a site that had she kind of changed the height of the background image. She swapped it out. It was
Change the height of this.
of the blue. Yeah, she replaced that with like a narrower one, but it was still there. So basically swapping out an image.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I don't think it actually was any narrower. It just appeared to be narrower. So
Yeah, it was still the same height, but she like swapped it out with like a band as opposed to
right.
a full. It was white on the top, white on the bottom, and a band of color in the middle. So she basically swapped the image out.
Right. So again, I like Firefox much better than using Chrome whenever looking at images. So since I'm in Firefox, this is a good thing. I'm just going to right click on this image right here, and I'm going to choose to view the background image. And you'll see that you're looking at the image here. It'll also tell you where it is right now. It's inside the images folder, inside of the ocean blue folder, and then the actual name of the image, slider underscore bg.jpg for slider background, basically, the background behind the slider. So you can tell that it's a JPEG image. You can tell what the name of it is, and you can tell specifically where it's been uploaded. If you look up here in the browser bar, you also see it says 1920 by 392. This says basically it is 1920 pixels wide by 392 pixels in height. So and I'm not going to do it right now, I'm not going to open up Photoshop and get into that stuff because Photoshop takes a huge amount of horsepower, and if my machine is already kind of not happy with running fast, I could probably kill it. But let me see if I can kind of give you just a general idea. I'm going to use my measuring tool, the Measure It add-on, which has nothing to do with graphics whatsoever, but just to give you an idea. If I created an image inside of Photoshop and I made a band of color that was just in this area alone, and I left the top as white and the bottom as white, or other colors, etc. If I then renamed this this file to slider underscore bg, and if I made sure that it was a JPEG, and if I uploaded it into the ocean blue folder that was inside of the images folder, it would overwrite or replace basically the original with the new one. And once that happened, get rid of this. Once that happened, you would look at the site and you would see basically this band of color. This band of color would show up, behind the slider image, in whatever area that you defined it to be, and it would look like it was basically empty elsewhere. It's really not the image itself was any smaller, it's just that the image itself was different. And if you have graphics skills and a little creativity, you can do all sorts of things to make this look very, very different without actually having to change any code. So I'm hoping that made sense.
Okay. Let's see. Somebody was asking about a training video on how to place video and text in the main slide feature. And I believe that's covered in the creating basic main slider video that's already online.
I think so, but a quick rundown of it again basically is, of course, first would depend upon what type of video code you're trying to put in there. we haven't discussed, trying to self-host videos. So this would, at the moment I've only taught about how to use YouTube, but we'll go back to the YouTube example. If we jump over to YouTube, and we'll search for a video that hopefully is family friendly. Let's see. I think this one's okay. We'll click on the video that we want to use, and we'll take a quick peek at it. It may not be the size I was hoping for, but it doesn't really matter. Share is the first thing to click on, and then embed next. Okay, so it's giving you the sizing of the videos. This is basically in the 4:3 format, the old TV format, rather than widescreen, which is the 16:9 format, just FYI. But you can see that the smallest size is 420 by 315. We built the slider image, the slider size specifically to support YouTube video because we knew that a lot of our people and clients would want to do that. The default height of YouTube videos by default is always 315 pixels, regardless of whether it's widescreen or not. So just in this case, it's 420 wide by 315. You can either choose to use the old embed code, which is what's being used now, or if I take it off, you'll use the iframe code. Which you use is entirely up to you. There's pros and cons of both. This obviously has less code, but you're forcing your browser to open this new page in an iframe, which it can cause slower load times. Just entirely up to you. I would recommend that you don't show suggested videos. So I would recommend if that is ticked by default that you turn that off. You just want to show the video that you want to show and nothing else. I'll just use the iframe code just because it's easy to see. I'll just copy this out, Control C to my clipboard. We'll come back over here. We'll go to main sliders, add new. We'll put in video and text example and come into the post box. So you can do this if you're using the shortcode, which I'm suggesting that you do, our custom shortcode for this, you can do it in either visual or HTML. We'll tab over to visual. I'll click the S icon for the shortcodes plugin. The category will get main slider. And the shortcode now is, okay, what do we want to do? Understand that how the shortcode works is it works from left to right. So if I want my video on the left, I need to do the column for video first. If I want my video to be on the right with the text on the left, I need to start with the column for content. So just understand you want to choose the first shortcode for whatever you want to show on the left. So I'm going to put the video on the left. I'm going to choose column for video. It's going to pre-populate this stuff. It says, okay, is the video column to be on the left or right? Again, we want it on the left. What's going to be the width? Well, by default, it's 420, and that's what it is. We just checked that over at YouTube. Do you want the layout that shows the arrows on, the big arrows that show to the left or the right of the slider, or do you want them off? I prefer them personally. I prefer them off. I like the circles on the bottom, but I like the arrows off. It gives you more space to work with as far as content is concerned. It's another benefit. It says, okay, what's the content to be used? Well, if you already have the video code, you can just paste it right here in this box and then click Insert Shortcode. All right, so we can see that over here. We'll tab back over to HTML. It's easier to see this. So it's created the custom shortcode for the opening. It's created the custom shortcode for the closing, and it's inserted the iframe HTML code that we just got over at YouTube. So that's the first. The next is I'm going to just hit a space, and I'm going to click the shortcode button again, and we're going to do the second column, which is now the column for content. Please understand that we built these to work in unison. So if you create a column for video, you need to have a column for content. Same thing conversely if you're doing it backwards. If you started with a column for content, you need to have a column for video. That's not to say what the content has to be. You could put an image in the content area. You don't doesn't have to be text, but just understand that the only way that this works is that if you're using one of each. So column for content is next, and it says, okay, what side is the content on? It is on the right. Video on the left, content on the right, whatever that content is. What is the video column width? Again, it's already set to 420, which is what we're using. And are we using the arrows on or off? We chose to use them off. So at the moment, I'm just going to put in dummy text just for a placeholder so you can kind of see it, and insert shortcode. And now you can see that we have a new opening shortcode tag. It's all the way down to here. We've got the default content dummy text, and then we've got a closing tag, the shortcode. If I click publish, we are going to get, after refresh, now an animated slider. And I have arrows turned on in side options, so it's not stopping that. But if I click the circle button to go to the next, you'll see that we've inserted the video and that we have text, and the text area is all the way over here. Again, I don't like the arrows on personally, unless I'm doing all images. I mean, they look great, but they just take up usable area. So to get rid of those, we'll go to Appearance and then Side Options. We'll go to Main Slider Options, and then we'll say, do we want to show the arrow buttons? And I'm going to say, no, I don't. Save changes. Go back over here. And we'll refresh. Take a peek. So now we have the arrows off, and you can see that no longer is it trying to compete with our layout for our video. And of course, and I can put anything I want in that area for dummy text. So going back into main sliders, we'll go back into the editing window. Let's say, for example, that I wanted a heading. Again, I'll make it an H4. And you don't have to do this in HTML view. You can go back to visual mode, and I'll just type in some do some copy paste real quick. And we'll update it. Okay. I have some weird stuff going on with the layout of my spacing. Something strange, but you get the idea. You now have a video and you have text, and I'd play around with the layout of this, because obviously I was inserting spaces there for some reason. Get rid of one and there's still another. So you get the idea. You just play around with your content. And like I said earlier, you can insert anything you want into this other content area, not just text. You know, it could be text. It could be text with a, you know, an opt-in form. It could be a buy button. It could be whatever you want. I did initially upload some test images so I could show you. So if we wanted to get rid of the text and use an image on this other side, I provided you a document that has information on what those sizes are, what that container area basically is, but I'll just show you here again real quick. If I wanted to basically get rid of this text, and instead of text we wanted to insert an image, I would just click Upload, Insert Image, go to the Media Library, and I created a number of different demo images for you to see. And honestly, I should have my list down here to know specifically which one is the correct one. I'm trying to do the math in my head real quick. 420 on the left without, I think it's 490. I think it's the wide one. We'll see if I'm right here in a second. Yeah, and I was right. So again, now you're looking at, a new layout with, a video on the left and a full image on the right. And like I said, anything that you can put into a post, you can put into the main slider. It's very flexible. Jerry, anything else?
I wanted to see the Aweber, putting the Aweber in, which is similar, just inserting a shortcode inside the shortcode.
Just putting in the Aweber shortcode widget? Okay.
Yeah, where you have the demo. Because what's happening is a lot of people are not putting the second content. You're not putting the two columns. They're just putting the video column and then the Aweber widget and wonder why it doesn't lay out right.
Yeah. So I did make mention of that before, but yeah, you have to make sure that you have to use those two shortcodes in conjunction with each other again. So the titling of them is a little bit of a misnomer because, just from a technical standpoint, let's say that you had an image that was 420 pixels wide by 315 that you wanted to use on the left. You could use the image on the left and then an Aweber form or text on the right. You don't have to use a video, but we created those shortcode names basically to correspond with the understanding that a lot of people would use them for YouTube videos, which is why they're named that way. But truthfully, all it is just segmenting a certain area of the slider area for content. In this case, this one is 420 pixels wide by 315, and you can see the image has the specific sizing over here, 490 pixels in width by 315. This is the available area to you if you have this format with the arrows turned off. If you have the arrows turned on, then of course this content area narrows a bit to allow the content to show without encroaching onto the arrow area. Going back to main slider again, so right now we have, again, the two shortcodes working in tandem, but we have an image. If you didn't want to use an image, but let's say you wanted to, I don't know, we'll just put in an H4 heading, and then after that you wanted to insert the Aweber widget. You would go to main slider again as the category. The shortcode then becomes Aweber form for slider. The heading text is the text that shows inside the form area. You can either use the basic form or the fancy. I'll just use the fancy. Again, you put in your Aweber web form ID. This is optional here. Your list name is required. The redirect URL is optional but recommended. Again, there's a whole bunch of optional areas. You'll see it says optional in them. And then at the very end, you have the privacy text that you want to show. Insert shortcode. And it has inserted that shortcode in the appropriate place. Again, it's nested or housed inside of the other content shortcode. So it's basically a shortcode within a shortcode. Click Update. And hopefully, if things are smiling on me, we'll have a layout. And if we don't, then we'll have something else to look at. So we'll take a quick peek at what's going on. Why is it outputting the shortcode content rather than the form itself? We'll have to go take a quick peek at that. We have the H4 is showing up, join today, which is what I input, but the widget is wacky. So let's go take a quick peek. I'm guessing that it may be because this is on a separate line. Oops. No, I just broke that one. Hang on a second.
There was no space between the two, and two shortcodes back to back.
Oops. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. There's no space between this one and the next one?
Right, and if there's no space between shortcodes, it does not render the shortcode. That's part of WordPress. It's not specific to the theme.
Yeah, shortcodes are blessings and curses. We'll just be honest. So I'm putting the other square bracket and then putting a space after this one. We'll see if Jerry is correct with that. Looks like we have a space after the closing there. We have a space here. We'll see. This is one of the frustrating things with shortcodes is that it does make things challenging at times when it comes to, hey, why is that happening? Okay. So just for fun, I'm going to get rid of my H4. Okay, what Jerry's basically saying is you don't want two shortcodes butting up together like this. That will typically almost always break things. But it looks like all of the others are correct. But it's not happy, Jerry.
Not sure why. I'm trying to look at it on this tiny screen, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let's get your email. That one's closed. That one's closed. Oh, you know. Oh wait, no.
I was hoping you were going to see something because at the moment, to be quite honest, I don't see anything.
I don't see anything either offhand. We know it works because we've done it. So
yeah, many times. The crazy thing is that just gets frustrating. I'm gonna put the second shortcode on a new line and try it again. We've had to do all sorts of crazy stuff to get it to work, and unfortunately, it just doesn't make any sense because you'll get it to work fine one way on one installation, and you'll have to use it differently on another.
And for those people that don't like shortcodes, in the custom shortcodes.zip file, we also include all the HTML. So you can actually just use HTML code if you wanted to.
Yeah, just from a copy and paste standpoint. So here's a good. This is a good. Thanks for mentioning that because sometimes shortcodes are really cool, but like I said, they can get really frustrating, and it's not the theme itself, it's just the way WordPress works in conjunction with them. So what I'm going to do right at the moment is I'm going to strip out the YouTube code and let's see, the Aweber code, you have to know just a teeny bit more about HTML to make this work, but let's go open up.
Wait, do you have the code up there? Somebody just said some things didn't match.
What happened?
This? Yeah, that's the code that you have it there. SW slider, SW form, SW form. No, it's not what they said. Okay, just go on. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So
it's nice having extra eyes, but
yep. So on the shortcode stuff, you'll see that we gave you the custom shortcodes, And then inside of that, we gave you another folder called avoid using shortcodes. So if you want to avoid using them, we gave you all the custom HTML that will help you do all of the different layout stuff inside the featured box or main slider without having to use the custom shortcodes whatsoever. So code for main slider here, and we have all of the code in situations where you want the arrows off, all the code in situations where you want the arrows on, and then we have the Aweber basic form, the fancy form, and even the remove white space from full size image. So we're using code for arrows off, so I'm going to open this one, and you look and you say, okay, well, what situation are we using? Well, we are using a 420 pixel wide content area on the left, and then we have also content on the right with arrows off. This is the version that we're using, the first one. If we had the 420 content area, basically, whether it's video or other things, on the right-hand side with the content on the left, we would use this one, etc. The next is the different widths for the 560 wide videos. So I'm going to double-click this text document and open it up, and you're going to see what we have here. We have basically a comment up here just to remind you what this is. Video 420 pixels wide left, content right, arrows off. You don't want that. You just want this right there. So I'm going to copy that out of this text document. I'm going to close that for a moment. Open this one again. I'm just going to paste it lower down on the page so you can kind of get an idea. This is the content we just copied and pasted out of that provided text document. You can see that there's a comment right here. It says YouTube code or other content goes right here for the video. So this is what we need to replace right there. We already have it. Just replace this with this. Secondly, it says, okay, your next bit of content needs to go right here. So if this was an image, you would put your HTML to the image. If this was something else, you would put your something else. So in this case, I'm gonna start it with an H4 heading tag, just like we did initially. And I'll close the heading 4 tag. And then underneath it, I'm going to place the Aweber specific code. Going back to our package, you'll see that we provided you code for Aweber Basic and Fancy. I'm going to open Fancy. And here's the form code. Again, we don't need the comment at the top, just the form code. Close that. So this, then, I'm going to put this under the H4. So now we have join today, and then we're going to have the Aweber form. Now the only thing, this is where our widget makes things easier. And now since we're not using the shortcode, we can't use the widget, but just understand that there's a few values in here that you have to change. You have to update the web form ID with the actual value given to you by Aweber for your form. You have to update the Aweber list name with the actual list name for your list. And then you need to update the redirect URL, the place to send new subscribers after they have subscribed. All the other stuff is optional. But those three values, the Aweber list name, the web form ID, the numeric, and then also the redirect URL, you should use. You could get rid of the redirect URL altogether, just delete it. And if you do, it's going to just keep them on the page. That's entirely up to you. But you might want to redirect them somewhere. So anyway, this code now, if copied out, going back into your post editor, making sure that you were in HTML tab. You can't do this in visual. We're just going to get rid of all of the current. Control V to replace, and then I'll just click update. And we should have what we want. It's thinking. Still see it's thinking.
just while we're waiting for this.
Yeah.
The person that had the problem with the white line at the top, there was a P tag, a paragraph tag, somehow got in between the div tags when he was working on it. So it pushed it down. That was his problem.
Yeah. Anytime you see, well, this gets into just a discussion and a teaching of HTML, but there's HTML elements that are considered block level elements and HTML elements that are considered inline. And anytime you have a block level element, which is a paragraph is a block level element, as are all of your headings, H1 through H6, as are div tags, as are some other stuff. What the browser is doing as a result of seeing any block level element, it's forcing the content to have a space above it and below it. So that's basically just an HTML understanding of why that's happening. If you see a paragraph tag, or if you see an H1 or an H2 or an H3, etc., if you see a div tag, it's always going to basically force it to a new line and put space above it and below it, unless you override it through CSS. So if you go in there and see a P tag, a paragraph tag, when you're working on the full slider image, you can be guaranteed you're going to see white space. So let's see. Okay, so we got what we wanted. We just had to do it through the custom HTML code that we provided for you. Now we have the H4 join today. We have the heading ability here, our name and email, and then we have the submit button and the privacy policy text. So I'm sorry that it didn't work out the way it should have through the short codes. It does work. We have tested it much, but there's some.
Somebody said one of the end brackets was missing farther up that I didn't look at, so that might have just been the problem too.
Let's see here. Well, here's the original code minus the iframe. So we have an opening bracket and a closing. We have an opening and a closing, an opening and a closing, an opening.
Yeah, it doesn't look like
closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. No, there's nothing missing.
Something else is going on.
Yep. Murphy just decided to rear its ugly head and give us a chance just to demonstrate the ability to avoid it altogether. So there is, we have provided you the ability to get what you want both directions. It's just that the shortcode thing is typically, better, especially for those that are a little more gun shy when it comes to HTML.
Yep, and of course you can put images and video and text on either side and all that kind of stuff. You have all the HTML variations to do that.
Right. Like I said, really, even though it says column for content and column for video, you can just ignore that. If you wanted to show an image over here rather than a video with your opt-in form, you just need to know what the size is. In this case, I know that this is 420 pixels wide by 315. And since we have a demo image exactly that size, let's just show it. We'll just get rid of the iframe source code. We'll go to Insert an Image. We'll go to Media Library since I've already uploaded it. We'll find the one that is 420 by 315, basically the exact same size as the video. We'll show that. Again, I would recommend that you update the title, enter alt text, determine if you want it linked or not, and then make sure that the appropriate size is going to get inserted. And you'll see that now we've inserted the image after update. Now we're going to have replaced that YouTube video with just an image. So if you wanted to use an image, something really cool, maybe an arrow that points, over here it says, go subscribe, you can do that too. It's very, very, it's limited to your ability to work inside of WordPress. The better you get at the ability to create custom post content, it really works the exact same way as just creating a custom post. All right, we're, what are we, 17 minutes over already? So is there anything else cool? If not, I'll just discuss 1.5.1 and child themes, and we'll call it a day. If there's anything.
check out. The only thing seems to be how do you change the order on the sliders? If you like put the sliders in, how do you make them so they show up in a different one? So can you just
Yeah,
show the order stuff real
yeah,
quick?
sure. Okay, so inside of WordPress, it's a database-driven system, and as a result of that, inside of WordPress by default, anytime you create content, it creates it with what's called an order. So if we go inside the main slider, you can see over here on the right-hand side, under attributes, you can see that there's an order value. By default, WordPress creates every single new piece of content with an order of 0. That might seem a little confusing at first. You kind of wonder why it doesn't just increment it, create the first one as 0 or 1 and the second bit of content as 2, etc. But that's the WordPress thing. It's not it's not specific to the theme at all. So the question then, well, if everything is set to an order of 0, how does it know what order to display the content in? And the answer to that is, if there is no order assigned by you, the user, it will show it in the order that it was created. So it's basically using it then on a date range. So the very first bit of content, the very first slider that we created, if we come over here to the site and we refresh, hopefully this doesn't take forever. Upon refresh, we see the full slider image, and the second circle, if I click the second circle, we now see the second. Well, what would happen if you wanted to reverse that order? What do you do then? You certainly don't want to have to go delete all these and recreate them. That would be just very inefficient. So the order attribute then is the way to do this. So right now, like I said, they're both 0, but you can override these. My suggestion is that you do not do them in sequential order, so don't do them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because if you do that, this is just a pro tip, if you do that, then when you want to reorder them again, you got to go through all of them. So let's just call this one 100, and I'm going to update it. That's not going to change anything because the other one's set to 0. Since 0 precedes 100, it stays exactly the same. But if we go into the main slider list, and we can go into the full slider, I can just do this by quick edit. You'll see that you have the ability to mess with the order over here in quick edit too. I'm now going to change this to an order of 200. Since 100 comes before 200, we are going to have overridden the default setting, and you can see that now the very first slider image that we're on the first circle is the image and the form, and if I tab to the second, we have the full slider. So it's very easy to order, and again, just the pro tip is I would recommend that you jump them by a standard and big value. It doesn't have to be hundreds. You could jump them in tens or something else, but hundreds work fine and give you a lot of room to operate between. Another thing that you can do is you can actually create additional sliders that maybe you don't want to use them today, you want to use them sometime in the future. So if you decide to create a new slider, just don't publish it, turn it to draft mode. If I do that over here in the publishing area, you'll see that right now its status is published. You can do this in the quick edit too. Actually, might as well just show that. Quick edit makes it really easy. So either initially upon creating it or going back into quick edit, you can change the status from published to draft. And now that I've done that, you're going to see that the circles are going to go away because now we really only have one live bit of slider content. See that the circles disappeared, and it's not going to animate at all whether I hover over it or not because there's only one published bit of content. So that's a way that you can basically create sliders in advance of going live if you want, and just leave them in draft mode, and then as clients say, hey, I want to turn that one on, you can come in and just change the status from draft back to published, and it puts it back in the rotation, and then you already know how to order them through the order numbers. That good? Anything else?
Let's see real quick. Somebody asking about caching plugins, what our opinions are on those.
I hate caching plugins, um, except in certain situations. You know, the concept of a caching plugin is cool. It basically keeps a cache of a particular page for a user and has the ability to then, deliver a cached page to improve speed. So, I mean, the whole reason you would want to use a caching plugin is if you were trying to optimize your your site's speed, basically. But note a couple things. You know, the caching stuff doesn't work the first time. It's meant for repeat visitors. And the other part of that process is that if you have a regular, small business client, you're not going to have enough traffic to really see a noticeable difference with a caching plugin. Caching plugins are really best used for sites that are getting heavier amount of traffic as it refers to WordPress-driven sites. But they bring in all sorts of extra complexity. Most of the caching plugins, WP Super Cache, I think is W3 Total Cache, whatever, the Total Cache, the Super Cache plugins, they work, but I've found that they have a lot of conflicts with a lot of other plugins. And the other thing is if you're working on a website and all of a sudden you're getting really frustrated because you made a change but you can't see it, it's because you probably are, it's cached for you too, and you're not seeing your changes. So then you have to go and dump the cache, and they're just a pain. So if you have a site that's really getting a lot of traffic, then you may want to consider using a cache plugin, just with the understanding that you may have plugin conflicts and you may have frustration when working on the site because you're not seeing your edits actually take. You're seeing cached versions. Jerry, do you have a different opinion than I do? It's okay if you do.
No, I agree. In my tests on certain themes, not just the local BizPro theme, but other themes, is often it will make the site load slower. And I know it sounds totally intuitive, but when I tested the local biz theme with and without a cache, my personal tests, it was approximately 10% slower loading the site, both not just on the first load, but on multiple loads. And so, I mean, and also, you want to get down to it, 10% was 0.15 seconds. So we're not talking about, loading in 2 seconds versus 10 seconds. And it does cause issues with advertising if you're using it, some offsite scripts, some plugins. The biggest problem is it's very complex to use a caching plugin. You can't just drop it in and run with it. Well, you can, but it causes other issues. You really need to configure it properly to cache certain parts and not other parts. And again, unless you're dealing with a really big traffic site, you usually won't see much of a difference. The biggest problem that is the loading basically of images, local content that's huge. You need to kind of optimize what your the basic stuff first. That'll make a much bigger difference for most people. A bunch of tech support questions come in that have a cache turned on, and as soon as they remove the cache, their site's working. And I'm not talking just about local BizPro. I'm talking about WordPress in general.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
So that's my feelings about it.
Okay. We're on the same line then. I do not use caching plugins unless I absolutely positively have to. And when I say that, the only reason that typically that you might quote unquote have to is if you have a client that is getting a decent amount of traffic. You may actually have your host send you a nastygram that says, hey, look, we're requiring you to use a cache plugin because you're using more of our server's resources than we want to allow you to use. And if that's the case, then you may have to, but I would not use a cache plugin unless I was made to.
Okay. Yeah. It's not the big saving grace that everyone has made it out to be.
as a side note, I have done some tests and have actually seen improvement on some sites, but like Jerry said, caching plugins are very complex animals, and of course, because they're so complex, there's a couple of problems. Number one, they're very hard um, to understand, even for those that are technically proficient. I definitely have a well above average proficiency in the technical side of website building, but even it, I look at all the value settings of a full-featured cache plugin, and the vast majority of it I truly don't understand, at least not at a deep level that I would want to. And in addition to that, I have found seriously huge amounts of conflicts between it and themes, it and plugins, etc. So, in my opinion, just more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I don't see the return on the investment of time usually, but there are situations. Let's see. Some people have been asking about Mobile Web Pro, that they've heard us refer to mobile sites and stuff, and they're just local biz themes customers. So can you touch that real quick?
Yeah, I don't have an exact date for you. Probably, and this is a probably, so don't hold me to this, probably sometime next week, um, we will reopen Mobile Web Pro just for local biz pro customers, and probably also again for any customers / list members of both David Cisneros and myself. But there's going to be a better pricing for local biz pro customers. What Mobile Web Pro is and isn't, this is a long discussion I wasn't planning on getting in, but Mobile Web Pro is basically, they are templates. They are HTML based templates coded in, excuse me, XHTML MP, stands for mobile profile. So it's the mobile profile of XHTML. They are not themes. They are not WordPress themes. They don't integrate with a content management system. They don't have a beautiful, user interface on the back end. So in that respect, there are some cons, and I'm very upfront with that. It requires you to do some HTML editing. We have a lot of very high quality training inside of the members area for Mobile Web Pro, and we have had huge amounts of success. Matter of fact, we've had, obviously on this webinar, we've had a whole bunch of people talk about their success with Local Biz Pro, and nothing thrills me more than hearing about you guys succeeding and making money with the products that we create. That's exactly, why we do what we do, both for ourselves and for you as our customers. But if I had to compare side by side, and of course, Mobile Web Pro has been out for a little bit longer than the theme, but we have had so many success stories with Mobile Web Pro that it just makes me giddy with excitement, because so many people have made their first bit of money in offline marketing, or have made more money in offline marketing as a result of using our Mobile Web Pro templates. We get routine success stories sent in all the time, and I absolutely love it. So it is basically we'll just call it an HTML and CSS platform that's integrated with PHP. So it does use PHP to make it more efficient. But the cool thing, one of the big pros of our platform as opposed to using a mobile WordPress theme, there's a couple of them. Number one, our mobile sites load way faster than any WordPress mobile theme I've found, period. I mean, like way faster. And if you know anything about mobile web development, you know that page load speed is huge. It's huge for user experience. It's also huge for improving your mobile SEO. So those are big things. The other thing that I really love about it, in terms of being a pro, is that you can integrate it quite easily with just about any website platform that's currently in existence. So by that I mean this: if you have a customer who has a current HTML-based website and they like it, they don't really want you to build them a WordPress version, you can use our Mobile Web Pro templates in conjunction with their HTML-based website. You can make that work. If they have a WordPress website, you can make that work. If they have a custom PHP site, you can make that work. It's very, very flexible in that. regard. If you look at the other products that are out there on the marketplace, and again, I'm not disparaging them. Again, I understand that there are pros and cons with our product as well, but one of the big pros, as I just pointed out, is the fact that you can integrate it with multiple, existing sites. If you use a mobile WordPress theme, a mobile web WordPress theme, of course, requires an instance of WordPress to run. Most of them require that you have a primary theme and a secondary theme, the mobile theme. Well, that doesn't work unless you're building a WordPress website. So what do you do in instances where you have a client that has an HTML website they like and they don't really want to move? They just want a new mobile site. Well, you can't do it with these other applications. It's just not possible because of the WordPress integration. So, like I said, there are pros and cons. Probably within a week, you'll know more about it. We're probably going to schedule a short preview webinar. We did this last time during the launch. It was very helpful for people just to wrap their minds around what it is and kind of how it works, etc. So we'll probably have a free preview webinar where we just kind of demo it again, and then we'll give you access to it probably within a week, but I don't have a specific date for you. So that's all I'm going to say on Mobile Web Pro right at the moment. I think we're good. So I think unless you have something extremely crucial, I'm just going to talk just a little bit about version 1.5.1 of the Local Biz Pro theme and show you what a child theme is real quick and hopefully get you some basic understanding as to why using a child theme is cool, and then we'll call this a day. So we'll log back into WordPress and we'll go to Appearance Themes, which is where all of our available themes are shown. And you'll see that right now our current theme is Local Biz Pro 1.5. I have been demoing the existing version that you all have of Local Biz Pro. I also installed, which at the moment, for us is beta, Local Biz Pro 1.5.1, and you'll see that we have the Local Biz Pro Child. The child theme, just to wrap your mind around it, if you are using a child theme, you must also have installed the parent theme. So in this case, this is the child theme over here on the right, and this is the parent. They both have to work in tandem. Again, when we give you 1.5.1, you'll have the opportunity to make whatever decision you want to make. If you don't want to use the child theme, you don't have to. You can just use the parent and it'll work exactly the way that the current version works. But if you do want to use the child, again, like I said, you have to use both in tandem. You'll see down here that it says the template files are located in, it's giving the path to the template files. It's basically saying is this child theme uses the template files of the parent. That's why you have to use both. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the child theme, and then we'll go ahead and take a peek at the front end. And lo and behold, it doesn't look any different, which is a cool thing. This is one of the really great things about using a child theme. We're now using the 1.5.1 child theme, but you didn't notice any difference. A couple of things that we fixed. Let me explain that. If we create a drop-down, and I guess we could go do that real quick. If we create a drop-down inside of the menus areas, first we have to create a menu name, and I haven't done that for this one. I'll just title this Main Navigation, create menu. Then we will assign Main Navigation as the main menu, save, and then we will customize the main menu. That's done over here. We have currently only 3 pages live. I've just ticked the boxes, clicked Add to Menu. Now that you see them over here, and I can save the menu and we will have updated. Again, you can drag these and reorder them. And if you drag them to the right, they become drop downs of the one above. So now you were going to only see home and blog, and sample page will become a drop-down item. Go ahead and save that real quick. We'll see that we get, well, this will change in a second. We'll see that we have a little down arrow that's part of our code that shows up whenever an item has a drop-down. One of the things that we found in 1.5.1 is long page titles were causing the drop-down menu to break. And this is one of the items that we fixed in 1.5.1. So if I open up sample page, I can change the navigation label. Just adding some random, it's not random, but some just dummy text to, you can see this become long. And now you see that the long title stays appropriately inside of the drop-down arrow, whereas before it was breaking to 2 lines. So that's one of the fixes that we made. Another fix, and I'm not going to demonstrate this live, but another fix is we had a couple of people wanting to use the Sociable plugin as a skyscraper. That it shows up basically over here on the left-hand side. There was a conflict between the Sociable skyscraper code and our theme. It was basically showing behind this main navigation bar. It's now been fixed. So in case you want to use the Sociable plugin in skyscraper mode, that now works. Let's see, what else did we fix, Jerry? We fixed the...
I don't remember. I just want to say on the Sociable one, it wasn't how our thing handled it. It was basically how most themes handle. But we came up with a fix that would.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with plugins, is that it's impossible to build a theme that will work with every single plugin out there, because quite honestly, there's some plugins out there that are just so poorly coded that you don't want to go customizing your theme to support bad code. And in the case of premium plugins, realistically, the premium plugin provider should be giving you the workaround, rather than the theme provider always having to try to tweak their code to fix these other things. But when we did look into the Sociable plugin that was pointed out to us, we did find that even though it was really the plugin's fault, we did find that there was an easy workaround for us to add into our code that would make it work and not basically break anything else. So we decided to do it. So that's cool. Another thing inside of widgets, yeah, Jerry, you have something to say, because I remembered another one.
Somebody asked, did we fix the menu disappearing behind a video in the slider? This is a perfect example where somebody else's code is not set up directly. We had it where the menu would come down and it would disappear behind the YouTube video. So there's a fix for YouTube to do. It's not, you change a parameter in the YouTube video, not in the theme. So.
Right. I'm confident that we supplied that already.
Yes, we did. I just wanted to say that's not something that gets fixed by a theme.
Right. The theme can't fix it because the fix has to happen actually specifically in the YouTube code itself, and so it's a result of something that you have to add to the YouTube code. We have answered that already. We've demonstrated that in webinar, and we've already, I think, supplied the actual code itself. So if you need to look for it, it should be in the members area. But basically, and it's not just YouTube. What it is it's a result of Flash video. So inside of Flash video, which is what YouTube is showing, so same with like Vimeo and Vidler, etc., the Flash player, you basically add the ampersand W mode equals transparent. But how you do that depends upon the type of YouTube code. If you're using the iframe code, it gets delivered one way, and if you're using the old embed code, it gets delivered a different way. It's just basically just a teeny little bit of code that gets added to the YouTube code and then causes it to work properly with our drop-down menu. What I was going to say is I remember one thing that we did. Well, we fixed a couple things, but I remember another thing that we fixed. I have to go look through my notes. In the contact footer widget, which is down here showing by default, we had some people say that they were outside of the US and they had really long addresses, and so what we did is we added the ability to insert a line break into the into the widget. So if we take and open up, go ahead.
That was added in 1.5.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't one of the ones. All right. Well, never mind. I guess I can show it anyway, though, just in case you didn't know it. Sorry. I thought that was a new addition, but I guess not. If you do have a long, oops, wrong one. That's the header widget. The custom footer contact widget. Let me get rid of this one. Oh, that's what we did. It was the footer contact widget, but it was a different thing. There is now the ability to add a title. Before, it was hard coding the text "contact us," and we had some people that were in foreign countries that wanted to show something else other than the English. So now you can have this, the title, say anything that you want. That was the change. Good thing I opened it up anyway. So the URL path to your contact page, the business name, the address, and if you want to break it to 2 lines, you just use the line break HTML, which is just an angle bracket, which is in this case a less than, BR space / and then close angle bracket. So it's going to basically force the suite information to the next line because we have input just this simple HTML line break. And then if we want to link the email again, we just click this. And then going back to the live site, now we'll see that we have the ability. I was wrong in what we changed, but I knew something got changed in regards to the footer contact widget. So when you get 1.5.1, you'll be able to dynamically update the title here. Like I said, by default right now, all of your sites are saying contact us. So that is the change. And of course, you saw with the line break, I have the ability to force the address to 2 lines. Anyway, so there's been a number of improvements to 1.5.1. I guess that's my point. Just fixing basically everything that we found to this point. And then in addition, like I said, we created these child themes, or you're going to get a child theme basically for each one of the 6 versions. If we go take a look at appearance and then editor real quick, you'll see that there's now almost nothing here, right? I mean, if you look at the regular LocalBiz Pro, there's all these files that make up this thing. Right here now, there's only just a couple of files. There's a style.css file, and then there's a custom theme functions file. What's cool about this is if you wanted to hard code CSS changes, and this is what Jerry was talking about before, is recommending that you not do that right now with the standard version of 1.5, that you use the custom CSS options inside of the site options panel. But if you wanted to do custom CSS work, you could add that custom CSS right here to this style sheet. And you'll see that we've left a comment that says, adding custom CSS will hard code it into your child theme. If you put CSS here, it's going to overwrite basically, if it finds the same CSS called out in the parent theme, it's going to use this instead, which is cool. So you can make all of your custom CSS changes here, and then if we provide you an update in the future for the parent theme and go to 1.5.2, you can easily just switch out the parent theme, but it'll keep all of your custom CSS, which is just a really cool thing. That's the first benefit. The second benefit is this custom, or the secondary functions page. So if we go look at the functions.php, you'll see by default that we've inserted the code that we showed you from the WordPress security webinar. It says explain less login issues. So of course this can be updated by you in regards to which version you want to use. But right now, as it stands, if we tried to log in, now that we have this custom child theme set up, instead of reporting back whether the username was correct and the password was wrong, it's going to give us the just the default thing that says the entered credentials are incorrect. So we built this into the theme, so basically there's one less step you have to do in WordPress security. The other cool thing about this is, again, if you have to update the core parent theme, this content isn't going to get overwritten. So if you want to do additional things that you want to customize with your functions file, you can customize this version, and then parent theme updates, again, if we go to 1.5.2, etc., will keep all of your custom code intact, which is another cool thing. So that's kind of the hows and whys of using a child theme. And like I said, you're not going to have to worry about it, because we're going to supply them to you already, readied for use. And in addition to that, you'll be able to make the decision whether you want to use them or not. You will not be required to use a child theme. It will be entirely up to you. I would recommend that you do, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Simply using the parent theme by itself will work just exactly the same way that using the main theme 1.5 works right now. So I think I'm pretty much done with everything I wanted to do. If there's a couple more questions, I'm cool with hanging out for maybe 3, 4, 5 more minutes.
Okay. Well, I think somebody asked why would you want to use a child theme, and I think it's kind of been explained by you so far. But the other question is you have 6 different themes. They're going what is the difference between the themes? And we've gone over that briefly before. The texture area changes, and you still need to use the child theme. Takes up whatever your main theme that you've chosen, whatever main texture that you've chosen. It's not to replace the 6 different themes.
Yeah, we created we created a PDF, if you haven't seen it, in the members area that has basically screenshots of each of the 6 different graphical styles. The only difference between the 6, again, is that the background graphic behind the slider is a different texture, a different look, and then each one of those was in 6 different colors. So that's the only difference. Every single other element of the theme is the same. So again, my suggestion to you, especially if you're looking to use this as a business model, and so many people have made money with it, I certainly hope that you do. My suggestion is that you put up a demo install of WordPress somewhere, set it to be private such that you're hiding it from the search engines, and then go play with it. Just go explore it, for a weekend. Go dig into it, go understand it, go learn it, because that's going to give you the confidence you need to go out and sell it and create sites wrapped around it. One of the things I would say is install all 6 versions of the theme, and then activate one, take a look at it, activate another, take a look at it. That's going to give you the best representation of what the differences are. Even inside of the PDF that we supplied, I try to do my best with giving you sizable images. It's still somewhat hard to see the nuances of what the differences are. So the best way to do that is just to activate all 6, or just install all 6, activate one at a time, and take a peek for yourself. But that's the differences there.
One question seemed to got the idea between parent and child themes backwards, thinking that you would only customize your parent theme and never update and never change or update the child. The parent theme, if you're going to use child themes, you leave it alone. You don't do anything with it. You do all your customization and checking and modifications on the child theme. When a upgrade happens, typically, like in the way of 1.5.1 and its child theme, you would just update the base parent theme, and the child theme would continue along. Sometimes you do need to update child themes, but usually it's the main theme is you would put a new version on and leave your child theme alone in most cases. So if you're going to use child themes, you don't need to touch the parent theme. Just do the customizations and in the style sheets and such within the child theme.
Yeah, because if you touch the parent theme, you're undoing the benefit.
Okay. And then somebody says we're going to clone the site that we've customized. Do we copy just the child theme? And
No, you have to use both. The child theme will not work without a parent.
right. And I think we've getting a lot of thanks and stuff like that. So
Cool.
let's see. So someone's saying 36 different versions, 6 themes, and 6 different colors, or 6 different childs. And to best of my knowledge, we're going to have the 6 themes with the 6 colors, and there's the one child theme goes on top of it. Is that right, Kevin?
No.
No? Okay, so we're
No.
going to have...
Yep. Six parents and 6 coordinated childs.
Okay. So, but you only need to upload one of the parents and one child theme for that. You don't need to upload all of them.
Well, no, of course, yeah. Well, depending upon what they want to use. See, because just to understand how they connect, let's just go back here. So if you ever decide to create a child theme, you can create a child theme yourself literally within just a few minutes from most themes. There is the possibility that you can run into challenges that I can't tell you how to combat just yet, but it's really the information is the style sheet. The style sheet, in order to create a child theme, all you really need is number one, you need a parent theme. Number two, you need a new folder named and then uploaded to your themes folder. And then inside the folder, the only file that you have to have that's an absolute must is a file named style.css. That's it. So if you create a new style.css file and you upload it inside of a new folder and you put it inside your themes directory, excuse me, you've created a child theme. Well, the question is, okay, well, how does that all work? Well, here's the thing. So the first thing is you give your new child theme a name. So in this case, you can see that we've named it Local Biz Pro Child, with the understanding that this is a child theme for the standard or default Local Biz Pro. When we give you the child theme for Style 2, it'll say Local Biz Pro Style 2 Child, etc. The theme URI or URL, same basic difference. Again, you have white label developers rights, so you would change this to your domain. The description that you want to show, you can change that to anything that you want. The author would be your name. The author URI, again, this would be the URL back to your own consultant site, if that's what you're doing. And then the template. The template is the new element. This is the new thing that doesn't exist if you look at the parent style. This is very specific code that you need from WordPress, the template colon. And then it says, what template are we going to use as the parent? So right now, again, this is beta. Yours won't say v1.5.1, but ours does at the moment. It's just going to say Local Biz Pro. So whatever the template is, basically it's saying, look inside my themes directory and find the folder named exactly this. And once you do, understand that this is the parent theme for my child. Then it says, okay, well, where am I supposed to find the style.css file for the parent? And this is a specific bit of HTML, basically just saying when they import this style sheet to also import this URL, and it gives a path to the parent's style sheet, style.css. And then, like I said down here, we've left just a comment that says you can do what you want underneath here. You can add custom CSS to your child theme underneath this line. So this is really the only bit of custom bit of stuff that happens in order to make a child theme attached to a parent. That's really all that's the difference. So again, with the understanding that the template has to be used, the template name has to be used and has to coordinate with the specific child. I can't give you one child to work with all 6. Unless, well, I mean, I could, but you'd have to go in and you'd have to customize this template. You have to say it's Local Biz Pro or Local Biz Pro 2 or Local Biz Pro 3 or Local Biz Pro 4. That's really all that's there. But since we're doing this, we're just going to supply them basically as a package. Here's the new 1.5.1 parent theme, and here's its attached child, and here's Local Biz Pro 2, and here's its attached child, etc. So I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. To me, I don't have anyone else asking about it. Great way of explaining. Okay. One person asked, though, do I have to activate a parent and activate the corresponding child?
It's a great question, but no, you can only have one active theme inside of WordPress. It won't allow you to activate more than one. So up here under the current theme, you currently see that I have activated the child theme. So that it's the child that gets activated. But that code inside of the style sheet is saying when this one is activated to go and use the parent as the template, basically, that special bit of code. And so it's working in tandem with the parent. Even though the parent isn't activated, the child is the only one that's activated.
And one suggestion when working with child themes, and this is WordPerfect wide, not just this theme.
WordPerfect.
I'm WordPerfect. I've been doing that so much, it's really funny. So I've been talking to somebody that works in Utah. It's a long story. With WordPress, it's always best to activate the parent theme first on install and then activate the child theme. And the reason why is in case the parent theme has something that needs to be put in place, it doesn't always happen when directly activating a child theme. It should be fine on Local Biz Pro, but there are a lot of parent-child themes that don't, properly activate the parent theme. So install the parent theme, install the child theme, activate the parent, then activate the child. And we'll go over this when we talk about child themes. But you only get one at a time, but that's the best order to do it.
Cool. See, I learned something new. I've never played around with that. I've tested our setup, and I haven't had to do any of that. I just upload both and then activate the child. But Jerry has huge amounts of experience, and so if that's what he's teaching, that's what I'm going to start doing too. So good stuff.
Somebody asked something, and I don't see
Can't find it.
Can't find it. I think that was that it. Julie says it's kind of like laying a transparency over the original template, and anything that has changed is what shows up. That's how she figures out how child themes go. They overlay the existing parent. So that's some comments, thanks, and all that.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, again, if we go back and look at the theme options, or go look at editor real quick. With a child theme, it's going to look here first, and anything that's inside of the child theme package it's going to overwrite what's going on with the template, the parent theme. So this is why if you put custom CSS down here, and I should have saved, I don't think I did, should have saved that footer 2 code. If we added in the footer 2 code that we did change for those links, it would choose this code, even though this code exists over at the parent, styled in that blue color for the text links and the hover that we changed. It would look here first, and if it found code here, it would use this code and basically ignore the other, which is why it's really cool to use a child theme. Same thing with the functions. It's looking for the functions file, and it says, hey, if this exists in the child theme, I'm supposed to do this first. Of course, this functions file is not full-featured. It doesn't have all of the code required. Most of that resides in the parent theme. But if it finds something new in the functions file, which in this case we have the explain less logins code. This exists here, but it doesn't exist in the other functions.php file for the parent theme. It says, okay, look, I found something new. This is what I'm going to basically add or extend that parent theme with this new code. So I'm hoping that makes sense. There's lots to like about child themes, and I'm pleased to report that we're going to be supplying them to you probably within 5 to 7 days, etc. We just need to do some further testing of 1.5.1, make sure it's working properly with everything, and then we have to obviously duplicate this process across each of the 6 graphical versions. Shouldn't take all that long, but I don't want to send it out before I'm confident that it's ready. So I think that's it. Jerry, I thank you again so very much for being here and helping me and not only fielding the questions but also adding new insight.
You're welcome.